Ghislaine Maxwell. Can you believe it, guys? 2025. And they're saying Donald Trump might give the second, or was she the first in command in the Epstein network? Some would say she was above Epstein and actually the one guiding things. She was the madam. Ghislaine Maxwell is actually being considered for a presidential pardon if she shares information with the Trump administration. And this is just the latest in the saga of the last few weeks, as Trump stuck his foot in his mouth and told MAGA and everybody else to shut up and stop talking about Epstein. And people aren't shutting up and they're not going away. And so it seems like they're trying to, pacify and satisfy the people who want the truth. And I do get it that, look, the conspiracy theorists, there's probably nothing you can say to satisfy them one way or the other. But Trump and his team, they built this up by claiming they were going to go in there and get the truth about things like Epstein. And now they're in there and they're just, they're bullshit. And so people aren't having it. But this week, Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney met with some officials from the Department of Justice, which, by the way, his name's Todd Blanche, and he is actually a former attorney for Donald Trump, which is interesting. Top DOJ official Todd Blanche meets with Ghislaine Maxwell in Florida. This was just yesterday, Friday. Todd Blanche, the second highest ranking Justice Department official, met with Ghislaine at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Tallahassee on Thursday to discuss Jeffrey Epstein. David Oscar Marcus, her attorney, declined to comment on the substance of the meeting, but he told reporters outside the office that there were, quote, a lot of questions and we went all day. Quote, and she answered every one of them. She never did say, I'm not going to answer, never declined. This is the first time that the government has asked questions. So we were thankful that the Deputy Attorney General came and asked her questions. It's the first time the government did it. So it was a good day. And then on Thursday night, that Todd Blanche, again, the DOJ attorney, he wrote that he met with Maxwell because he met her Thursday and Friday. And he said, I will continue my interview of her tomorrow. The DOJ will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time. And of course, Maxwell is currently serving 20-year sentence at a low-security federal correction facility in Tallahassee. She was convicted in 2021 for helping Epstein recruit, groom, and abuse underage girls. As I said, though, some of the women have said that she was one of the worst abusers and that she was part of forcing the young girls and manipulating them and coercing them to be abused by Epstein. And not only that, she participated in the abuse where sometimes, they were jerking off Epstein and she was right there jerking off herself with it. Like, there's numerous accounts of that where the girls and young women, because again, we do have some under 18, we do have some over 18. So I say young girls and young women. They specifically say that Maxwell was involved in this. Now, Todd Blanche recently wrote on social media, justice demands courage. For the first time, the DOJ is reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell to ask, what do you know? And he said that he intends to meet with Pam Bondi soon. No one is above the law. No lead is off the limit. So that's kind of where things are at. And then we got this other report here that says Ghislaine Maxwell received limited immunity during meetings with Deputy Attorney General, according to sources. So this hasn't been confirmed, but it's starting to make the rounds. It says Ghislaine Maxwell, whose sources told ABC News initiated the meetings with the DOJ, answered questions for about 9 hours over 2 days after being granted a limited form of immunity. The immunity allowed Maxwell to freely answer Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's questions without fear that her responses could be later used against her. So they're already giving her immunity in the sense that if she reveals something that gives them something they can use to shut up MAGA, they're going to let her off the case even if she was involved in it. The so-called proffer immunity is commonly granted to individuals prosecutors are seeking to make cooperators in a criminal case. Maxwell has already been tried, convicted, and sentenced for sex trafficking underage girls. You better believe she's trying to get out of there, and she's going to give them whatever they want. And of course, if she has information on Trump or any of his allies, they're not going to share that. This is, in my mind, this is going to be a complete limited hangout. I absolutely do believe Trump is going to give her immunity of some kind and pardon her, or through this limited immunity they're already granting her. Trump doesn't even necessarily need to pardon her. They're just going to let her out early as part of the deal. So Trump doesn't have to take the heat of giving her an actual pardon, but still they basically struck a deal with her. The DOJ did not respond to a request. The lawyer for Maxwell did not respond to a request. And David Marcus, the attorney for her, said there have been no asked and no promises yet. And she said that she was asked about 100 different people and she didn't hold back. So we'll see what's going to happen, guys. Now, let's take a look back at history here. Trump doubles down on well wishes for alleged sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell. This is back in 2020. President Trump again extended well wishes to accused sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, apparently expressing sympathy for Jeffrey Epstein's longtime companion. And this was in an interview with Axios's Jonathan Swan in Monday back in 2020. He said, quote, her friend or boyfriend was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. And this came after he had previously said, that a couple of weeks before that he was wishing her well. His first comment was, I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach. And I guess they lived in Palm Beach, right near you, Trump. Don't act like you didn't know that. But I wish her well, whatever it is, he said. So first he says, I wish her well. Then the second time, he's given a chance to clarify. And he's like, yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish anybody well. And then he adds this line, let them prove somebody was guilty. It's like he doesn't believe that she's actually guilty of the things she's been accused of, which we know she is. Now, if you need any more evidence, just before people try to say this is AI later, here's Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and Maxwell. Here's another one, them at probably a fashion show, sitting right here together. Look at that, looking a little younger. Trump's got more hair and looking a little bit more put together. And then here they are again. And you can see on the side, this is 1997. It says New York City, Donald Trump out on the town with Ghislaine Maxwell. And we can scroll up here. There's Trump trying to look like a badass or something. And then there is Maxwell, them hanging out together. So I'm just saying, anybody who denies that they have a relationship is not being honest with themselves. Now, the curious thing about this is I picked up on this story actually a couple of weeks ago. This was from early in July 6th. I remember seeing this go by. This was part of the Daily Beast podcaster. And it's titled, Ghislaine Maxwell may be helping the feds expose Epstein's elite network. And this was what an author had said. The author is, what is her name? Tara Palmieri. I'm only somewhat familiar with her work. I think she did some Jeffrey Epstein podcast back in 2020. She recently did this interview with the Daily Beast, and she said that she believed that Ghislaine Maxwell was helping the FBI to take down Epstein's collaborators. Quote, I think she's probably helping them right now. I don't think she's going to spend all 20 years in jail. She didn't say how she knew this for sure, but she said, this on the podcast, that according to her sources, she said, quote, they can't let her out right now because there will be public outrage. But when nobody's paying attention, the story's gone away, a few years out, Ghislaine's out, or ends up in some nice prison. This is what I've been told by law enforcement sources. So even just a couple of weeks ago, before this even was making the news about Ghislaine Maxwell and Trump going, the visit between Trump's DOJ and Maxwell and the potential for her to get immunity or a pardon, this was already being reported by Tara Palmieri. So I give her credit. It does appear that that's starting to come true. And she said she had law enforcement sources telling her this. That'll be in the show notes. But I mean, I don't know what more proof you need that Trump is connected to this network. Now, I want to be clear. That doesn't mean that Trump was implicated in anything, but Trump was definitely part of the network and knew them well. He didn't just see them once or twice and never saw them again. And I think that's what his supporters are in denial about. Now, before we wrap this story up, I do want to play a clip here. This is a clip with attorney Bradley Edwards, who is the one that I interviewed back in 2018 at one of the hearings related to Jeffrey Epstein. You guys have probably seen this interview I did with Brad Edwards because a lot of MAGA media take the clip, and I think they take it out of context. They take these words that Bradley Edwards said to me, and they say, see, look, he says that Trump's the only one that ever called him back and gave him information about Epstein. So clearly Trump is not involved. And look, I'm not obsessed with trying to prove that Trump was involved in Epstein, but I don't think we should deny it. The man is obviously in a position of power. He's president, and he knew both parties very well. Epstein supposedly killed himself. Jean-Luc Brunel, who was the French connection, supposedly killed himself after he got arrested shortly after Epstein. And Maxwell is alive in this prison and now is about to get some sort of immunity. Trump was tied and connected to many of these people. He should be questioned as well. So I have no reason to believe that anything that comes out of Ghislaine Maxwell's mouth is going to be the truth and nothing but the truth. But nevertheless, we shouldn't forget that there are real victims involved in this that were abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and they should not be lost in the mix. It is their suffering that we should really be fighting to end and fighting to bring some justice to them. This shouldn't just be about which celebrity is named or which politician is named. We should actually care about the victims and what happens to them and how this impacts them. So with that in mind, I want to play this clip, which was Bradley Edwards recently speaking to MSNBC about his thoughts on the potential for Ghislaine Maxwell to get this deal. Check this out.
Representing your clients indicates to you that Jeffrey Epstein was committing this kind of rape with girls from middle school and high school, as you just put it, every day of his life?
Well, I would just, the only caveat being young children and young women, probably all under the age of 25. But yes, you're right, as young as 14. And I think that we've represented 50 that were under the age of 18. But it wasn't only minors, just that caveat. I think that the one thing that has really alarmed our clients, particularly today, is the information that now Ghislaine Maxwell is being visited in jail, and that she is somehow being given some credibility and a platform on this particular topic. I think what people are forgetting is that Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't only indicted on sex trafficking charges. Ghislaine Maxwell, because of testimony she gave on multiple occasions in the civil cases where we sued her, she provided testimony, and as a consequence of false testimony, she was indicted on 2 perjury counts on this particular topic. So we're going to go and ask somebody to tell the truth who was indicted on perjury charges related to this particular topic. Now, does she have information that could potentially help? Yes. Will she be truthful about it? Who knows? But whoever is going to be the questioner, whoever's going to be the interrogator, must know more than just a rudimentary understanding of the case. You have to have seen her other deposition transcripts to know what she said so that you can keep her in line. You have to know her testimony from her criminal trial to keep her in line, and you have to understand the case. Sending somebody there that knows nothing, she's going to say whatever she wants to say. And what's her incentive? Is her incentive because she's going to get a deal? I have many clients who say, look, President Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell were good friends back then. Is he going to commute her? Is he going to pardon her? And I have said to them, look, I know that you feel like an afterthought right now. I know that you feel like you don't matter. For him to do that would be, he thought about you and he decided you do not matter. I don't think that is on the table. I don't think that he would ever do that. Maybe I'm putting too much trust in him. Maybe I am. But either way, if he's not going to do that, what incentive does she have to tell him anything if she's getting nothing out of it? So there's a big problem here with the process, and it's just another piece of the scandal that is causing enormous anxiety. Let's all remember, there were 5 victims at the heart of the sex trafficking trial against Ghislaine Maxwell. 2 are no longer with us. They're dead. We're losing clients because of the anxiety and the suffering of them and their families. And they should be the first thought that every single American has when they think about this case. They shouldn't be an afterthought, and they shouldn't be forgotten. And that's how it feels to them and to me.
As I said, this should be about the victims. And if you guys want to know more about my work on the Jeffrey Epstein network, I encourage you guys to go to theconsciousresistance.com, look at our categories, and you can see the Epstein network and all the work I've done over the years, including looking at Ghislaine Maxwell, Jean-Luc Bonnell. Who is Ghislaine Maxwell? This is an important report. I will put this one in the show notes to actually get to know who she is and her family and everything like that, and about the Epstein co-conspirators. All of that can be found at theconsciousresistance.com, because we've been following and investigating Jeffrey Epstein since 2016. We're not new to this. We're not going to blow smoke up your ass about, Trump is not implicated. And even if Trump isn't implicated, this isn't just about Donald Trump. It's about getting the truth out one way or the other. I'm not solely focused on Trump, but because he is president and because he knew these people well, we shouldn't act like there's no reason to be suspicious of everything Trump is doing and the way he's speaking about Epstein and the way he's telling people to stop paying attention to it.
Since 2012, the Conscious Resistance Network has been an independent media organization focused on empowering individuals through education, philosophy, health, and community organizing. We work to create a world where corporate and state power do not rule over the lives of free human beings. Our motto is leading by example and helping others in their pursuit of freedom. Visit theconsciousresistance.com to find our articles, documentaries, interviews, podcasts, books, and more. Remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free.